Are you ready to learn the truth about the price paid for the creation of the most recognizable building in human history? We are used to seeing the Colosseum as a majestic postcard, a monument to imperial grandeur. But we rarely think about those whose hands built it. The history of architecture usually remembers the names of emperors and designers, leaving in the shadows the millions of nameless builders who sacrificed their health and lives. This is not just a story about stones and concrete. It is an immersion into the cruel reality of an ancient construction site, where every day was a struggle for survival. You will follow this journey from the first strike of the pickaxe into the mud to the installation of the last marble block under the scorching sun. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how Roman engineers made a giant lake disappear and why your life on this construction site would be worth less than a bag of sand. What if I told you that your name and past life no longer matter? Once you enter the construction site, you cease to be an individual and become merely a unit of labor necessary for the realization of Emperor Vespasian's ambitions. You are surrounded by thousands of people like you, brought together from all corners of the vast Roman Empire, speaking dozens of different languages and dialects. There is no room for complaints or doubts here, because the Roman construction machine cannot tolerate failures or stoppages. You quickly realize that your main task is not to create art, but simply to avoid collapsing from exhaustion before sunset. Your day begins long before dawn, when a heavy night mist still hangs over Rome, and the air is thick with the smell of smoke and sewage. You are awakened by the harsh shouts of overseers, to whom you are nothing more than expendable material that can be easily replaced at any moment. Breakfast is meager, consisting of a piece of stale bread and wine diluted with water, barely enough to stave off hunger. This fuel must last for long hours of exhausting physical labor that would be impossible for a modern person to endure. You look at your hands, which until recently held a sword or a plow, and realize that now they do not belong to you. The social ladder on this construction site is as rigid as the legions on the battlefield. At the very top are the architects and engineers, people with polished nameplates who never touch stone with their hands. Just below them are skilled craftsmen, masons, and carpenters, whose skills are valued and who receive at least some pay for their labor. At the very bottom of this pyramid are you, unskilled laborers, slaves, and prisoners of war, whose only function is to carry heavy loads and dig the earth. You understand that it is impossible to climb this ladder. You can only fall and disappear under the foundation. The work is organized with frightening efficiency, with each group performing its narrow task without seeing the big picture. Some carry water, others mix mortar, still others haul stones, and this anthill moves in a single, never-ending rhythm. You feel like a tiny cog in a giant mechanism that grinds human destinies for the sake of creating eternity. Discipline is maintained by fear, and any hint of disobedience is punished instantly and severely, without unnecessary investigation. You learn to understand orders without words, relying only on the gestures and whistles of the overseers. Your clothing is a simple tunic that quickly becomes soaked with sweat and dirt, becoming heavy and unpleasant to the touch. You have no protection, no helmet, no gloves, no sturdy shoes with metal toe caps that could save your fingers. Every wrong step, every falling stone could mean the end of your working life, and most likely your life. You quickly learn to watch your step and be constantly on the alert, expecting danger from any direction. It is not the strongest who survive here, but the most attentive and cautious. The noise on the construction site is unimaginable. People shouting, wooden wheels creaking, rocks falling, and hammers striking all merge into a single hum. This sound haunts you even in your dreams, not letting you relax for a minute, becoming the background of your existence. You learn to tune out the noise, focusing only on what is happening directly in front of you so as not to go mad. Dust hangs in the air like a thick cloud, clogging your nose, eyes, and lungs, making you cough and constantly rub your face. You realize that the clean air of Rome is somewhere outside this giant pit. Relations between workers are tense because it's every man for himself, and fatigue makes people irritable and aggressive. But sometimes in this hell, strange, silent alliances arise when two people help each other lift an unbearable load. You don't know the names of those who work alongside you, but you know their breathing, their strength, and their limits of endurance. This silent solidarity is the only thing that allows you to feel like a human being and not an animal. You share a sip of water without saying a word, because words are superfluous here. By the end of the first month, you no longer remember what your life was like before you came to work on the amphitheater. Your muscles ache constantly, your skin has become rough and calloused, and your gaze has become empty and detached. You stop thinking about the future, your horizons narrowing to the size of the stone block you have to move. The hope of liberation seems as illusory and distant as the mountain peaks you once saw. You simply exist from dawn to dusk, performing monotonous, heavy labor. But even in this hopeless labor, you begin to notice the grandeur of the plan, of which you have become a part against your will. You see the outlines of something grand, something the world has never seen before, beginning to emerge from the chaos and filth. This realization does not lighten your burden, but it does give it some meaning, albeit a grim one. You are not just building an arena, you are building a symbol of power that will outlive you and your masters for millennia. You are the invisible foundation of history. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. Would you agree to such hard labor in order to be part of a great story? Or would you prefer an unknown but peaceful life? Let me know in the comments. Guess what was on the site of the Colosseum before you started digging? You are knee-deep in sticky, squelching sludge that sucks your feet in with every step, making every movement painful. This low-lying area between the hills was once the site of Nero's artificial lake, and your first task is to destroy it. You don't just need to dig a hole, you need to drain a giant reservoir, and this is a battle not with stone, but with the element of water itself. You feel the cold moisture seeping through your shoes, making your toes numb and losing sensitivity. Engineers have developed a complex system of drainage channels, and it is up to you to bring their designs to life, working in the mud. You dig trenches several meters deep, reinforcing them with wooden planks that are constantly threatening to collapse under the pressure of the wet earth. Water arrives constantly, and you have to scoop it out with buckets, passing them up the chain in an endless rhythm. It's a Sisyphean task. It seems that no matter how much you scoop out, there's only more water. You realize that if the drainage doesn't work, the entire gigantic structure will simply float away and collapse. The smell of rotting algae and stagnant sludge haunts you everywhere, causing nausea and dizziness even in the most resilient. Sharp debris, tree roots, and the remains of former buildings are hidden in this mud, and it is easy to get hurt. Any scratch here can become infected, so you try to move carefully despite the rush and the shouts of the overseers. Your tools, primitive shovels and pickaxes, quickly become dull from the stones hidden in the silt, requiring constant sharpening. You dream of solid ground, but all around you is an endless sea of brown sludge. The foundation of the Colosseum is a giant elliptical concrete bagel that must lie at the bottom of this drained lake. To pour it, you have to build wooden formwork right in the mud, fighting against seeping water. You tamp down the bottom with heavy logs, compacting the soil centimeter by centimeter until your hands begin to tremble from the strain. Every blow of the tamper reverberates in your spine, and by evening, your back is one solid knot of pain. You understand that the lives of thousands of people who will come here in the future depend on the quality of this work. Sometimes there are breakthroughs, and then dirty water rushes with a roar into the already dug trenches, destroying the results of many days of labor. At such moments, panic sets in. People drop their tools and try to escape, scrambling up the slippery slopes. You see your comrades desperately fighting the flow, trying to plug the hole with sandbags and boards. It is a real war with nature, where water is a cunning and ruthless enemy that knows no fatigue. You learn to respect this element and fear its sudden fury. You have to work in cramped conditions, shoulder to shoulder with other diggers, in stuffy and damp trenches. The air here is stifling and heavy. There is not enough for everyone, and you often suffocate from lack of oxygen. Light barely penetrates to the bottom of the pit, and you often work in semi-darkness, feeling your way around to determine the front line of work. This creates an oppressive feeling, as if you are already buried alive under the thickness of Roman soil. Claustrophobia becomes your constant companion, but you drive your fear deep inside. But the most amazing thing happens when the drainage system finally starts working and the water flows into the Grand Cloaca. You see a solid bottom emerge from the swamp, ready to bear the enormous weight of the future amphitheater. This small victory of man over the landscape fills you with a strange pride mixed with incredible fatigue. You realize that Roman engineers are truly geniuses, capable of subjugating rivers and lakes. Now you are standing on dry land where fish were swimming just a month ago. Working with the earth is the dirtiest and most thankless job. It will not be written about in poems or mentioned in chronicles. But it is you, waist-deep in mud, who create the invisible foundation without which there would be no arches or columns. You feel a connection to the very soil of Rome, which you have turned over with your own hands, changing it forever. Your skin has absorbed the color of Roman clay and dust forever. You are the ones who set the stage for the greatest spectacle in history. You think that the hardest part is over because the water has receded and the foundation has been laid. But you have no idea that the real trials are just beginning, and they are not related to water, but to stone. Want to know the secret of the material that has allowed this building to stand for 2,000 years without crumbling? Want to know the secret that will change your perception of construction forever? You are used to thinking that concrete is an invention of the modern world, of gray panel houses and skyscrapers. But here, at the Colosseum construction site, you are mixing with your own hands a substance that is stronger than anything that will be created in the next 1,500 years. This is not just a mixture, it is alchemy in which volcanic ash is transformed into artificial stone capable of outlasting empires. And you are the chief alchemist in this dusty, hot, open-air workshop. You are brought a strange, reddish powder from a place called puteoli, which the overseers guard like gold. You are told that this ash, mixed with lime and water, creates an incredibly strong bond that only grows stronger over time. You inhale this acrid dust as you pour it into huge wooden vats for mixing the solution. Your lungs burn, your eyes water, but you continue to stir the heavy gray mass with huge wooden paddles. This work requires not only strength, but also rhythm, so that the mixture is homogeneous and lump-free. The secret of Roman concrete lies not only in its composition, but also in how you lay it in the walls. You don't just pour the slurry, you hammer pieces of tuff and brick into it, creating a layered structure of incredible strength. This process is called opus cementitium, and it requires constant attention and physical exertion. You have to make sure that the stones are evenly distributed, otherwise the wall may crack under its own weight. Your hands are covered with a crust of lime that eats away at your skin, leaving painful sores. Working with concrete is a race against time because the mixture begins to set quite quickly, especially in the heat. You run with heavy baskets of mortar across rickety scaffolding, trying to get them to the laying site before they turn to stone. If you hesitate, the mortar will spoil, and you will face severe punishment for damaging government property. This creates constant nervous tension, which is no less exhausting than physical labor. You feel like a juggler who cannot afford to drop a single ball. In addition to concrete, you work with giant blocks of travertine brought from the quarries of Tivoli. This stone is beautiful, but it is incredibly heavy and hard, and working with it requires tremendous patience and strength. You see stonecutters working for hours on a single block, shaping it to the perfect form for laying in the arch. Your job is to help them move these multi-ton blocks using only levers, ropes, and your own back. You feel your joints creaking under the strain as you lean on the crowbar. Travertine is laid without mortar. The blocks are held in place by their own weight and iron clamps, which you fill with lead. Working with molten lead is another danger that awaits you on this construction site every day. One awkward movement and a drop of liquid metal can burn through your tunic and skin to the bone. You learn to handle dangerous materials with the care of a jeweler, despite the roughness of the environment. The smell of melting metal mixes with the smell of sweat and dust. You begin to understand that the Colosseum is a layered cake of different materials, each playing its own role. Heavy travertine at the bottom, light tuff in the middle, and very light concrete with pumice at the top. The engineers thought everything through so that the building would not crush itself with its colossal weight. You admire this wisdom, even when your shoulders ache from the weight of the loads you are carrying. You are the hands that bring this ingenious engineering design to life. Every stone laid, every bucket of concrete brings a structure closer to the heavens, and you see the walls growing before your very eyes. This feeling of growth is exhilarating, making you forget the pain and fatigue for at least a moment. You know that this concrete will stand for centuries, and perhaps your distant descendants will see the traces of your labor. It is a strange feeling to create eternity from dust and water with your own hands. Working with materials teaches you to feel the texture of stone, the viscosity of mortar, and the temperature of lead. You become an expert in the properties of matter, even though you cannot read or write. Your fingers know more about construction than many scholars in the libraries of Rome. You are a living encyclopedia of practical construction, written with sweat and calluses. If you like learning about these hidden details of history that usually remain behind the scenes, like this video right now. What if I told you that the ancient Romans lifted loads weighing several tons without a single motor or a drop of gasoline? You are standing in front of a giant wooden structure that reaches into the sky, resembling the skeleton of a fantastic beast. This is a polypast, a huge crane, the pinnacle of engineering at the time, and you are its engine. You don't need to pull the rope with your hands. Your task is to enter the huge wooden wheel and start walking. You are a hamster in a wheel, responsible for lifting multi-ton blocks of travertine to the height of a third floor. Inside the wheel, it is stuffy and dark. The boards creak under your feet, and every step is difficult. You move forward but remain in place while somewhere outside, high above, a huge stone slowly creeps upward. There are 2 or 3 of you in the wheel, and you have to move in sync, feeling each other's rhythm. Otherwise, the wheel may jerk and drop the load. It is monotonous, hypnotic work that quickly makes your head spin and lose your sense of reality. You can't see what's happening outside. You can only hear the foreman's commands. Faster, stop, slower. Fear of heights is an unaffordable luxury here because the cranes are installed on the top tiers of the walls under construction. You realize that beneath the thin wooden scaffolding, there are dozens of meters of emptiness, and one wrong move could be your last. The ropes made of hemp are stretched like strings, and they make an ominous hum under the load. You constantly listen for this sound, afraid to hear the characteristic crack of a breaking fiber. If the rope breaks, the heavy block will crush everything in its path, including the people below. The system of blocks and levers allows you to lift weights that seem unimaginable for human strength. It is the magic of mechanics that you feel with your muscles as you overcome gravity step by step. But this magic requires constant maintenance. The blocks need to be lubricated with grease, and the ropes need to be checked for wear. You are covered in a layer of black, sticky grease that won't wash off for weeks. Your hands are slippery, but you must hold on tight to the crossbars of the wheel. The coordination between the team inside the wheel and those receiving the load at the top must be perfect. The slightest miscommunication can cause the stone to hit the wall, damaging the finished masonry or injuring a worker. You work in constant tension, catching every sound, every shout, every signal. This is teamwork in its most extreme form, where one person's life depends on another's attention. Sometimes, in rare moments of respite, you look down through the cracks in the floorboards and see people who look like ants. All of Rome lies at your feet, but you don't have time to admire the view of the eternal city. The wind whistles in your ears at this height, rocking the crane structure and making your heart sink with fear. You feel like a bird without wings, with only hard work in a wooden cage. The lifting of each block is a small victory, marked by a short sigh of relief from the entire team. When the stone finally falls into place, you feel the tension release, but only for a second. Down below, the next load is already being prepared, and the wheel must begin its endless rotation again. You are Sisyphus, who has finally rolled the stone up the mountain, but must immediately start all over again. This work changes your perception of weight and height, making them familiar, everyday things. You begin to trust the ropes and wood more than solid ground because they hold you above the abyss. You become part of the mechanism, its living, breathing part, without which the crane is just a pile of wood. Your strength is transformed into the height of the Colosseum walls. Do you think working at height is the scariest thing? Wait until you find out how fast you have to do it all. Guess how many hours a day you have to work to build such a marvel in 8 years. There is no such thing as a working day or a day off here, only shifts that follow one another in an endless cycle. Emperor Vespasian is in a hurry. He wants to see his creation completed before he goes to the gods, and this rush is transmitted to everyone on the site. You work from dawn to dusk, and sometimes by torchlight when deadlines are particularly pressing. Your body forgets what proper rest is, and sleep becomes a short and intermittent oblivion. The speed of construction of the Colosseum is phenomenal even by modern standards, and it is achieved through the maximum exploitation of human resources. You are driven forward not by whips, but by a strict delivery schedule. If a stone arrives, it must be laid today. Downtime for cranes or crews is unacceptable because it delays the entire chain of work on a huge site. You feel this pressure physically, like a heavy slab weighing on the shoulders of the entire team. Lunch is a short break right at the workplace. Often, you don't even come down from the scaffolding. You chew bread while sitting on an unfinished wall and watch other crews bustling about below without stopping for a minute. This continuity of the process is both mesmerizing and frightening. The construction site lives its own life, independent of people's fatigue. You understand that if you fall, you will simply be pulled aside and your place will be taken by someone else. Night shifts are especially dangerous because the shadows from the torches distort distances and hide gaps in the flooring. In the wrong light, it's easy to misstep, miss a beam, or not notice a protruding nail. People become silent and focused, moving like ghosts in the flickering light of the fire. The night on a construction site is filled with special sounds and fears that disappear with the sunrise. Fatigue accumulates over weeks, turning into a chronic condition where every movement requires an effort of will. Your muscles are constantly sore, your joints ache, and your hands tremble from overexertion, even in your sleep. You begin to move automatically, conserving every movement to save what little strength you have left until the end of your shift. It is a survival mode in which all emotions and desires are shut down except for one: to simply sit down. Despite the frantic pace, you are required to produce high-quality work because shoddy work here can cost lives. The stone must be fitted perfectly, the mortar mixed correctly, and the arch built exactly to the template. This contradiction between faster and better creates enormous psychological tension. You are constantly balancing on the edge of a mistake that could be fatal. The Romans are masters of logistics, and the flow of materials to the construction site never stops, giving you no respite. Wagons with stone, brick, and timber arrive one after another, creating endless traffic jams on the access roads. You feel like part of a huge conveyor belt that cannot be stopped or slowed down. This machine for processing resources and people is working at full capacity. You see people around you burning out. Some get injured, some simply collapse from exhaustion and never get up again. The turnover here is enormous. Faces change so quickly that you stop remembering them. You learn not to get attached to anyone so that you don't feel the pain of loss when your teammate disappears. But it is this insane speed that makes the impossible possible. The birth of a giant in a matter of years. You understand that you are creating a miracle, but the price of this miracle seems exorbitantly high to you. What you've never seen in movies about the Colosseum is the extremely difficult work at the very top, under the scorching sun. You climb to the top tier, where the walls end and the sky begins, to install the system for the Valerium. It is a giant awning that is supposed to protect spectators from the sun, and its construction is more complex than the sails of any ship. Here at a dizzying height, it is not ordinary builders who are working, but real sailors from the imperial fleet of Misenum. You help them install 240 huge wooden masts that will support the weight of the giant canvas. These logs need to be lifted, secured in special stone consoles, and securely fastened with ropes. The wind here blows with such force that it knocks you off your feet, and you have to tie yourself to the structures. You work shoulder to shoulder with people who are used to storms and learn their habit of tying nautical knots. At this altitude, the sun does not warm, but scorches, reflecting off the white travertine and blinding your eyes. The stone heats up so much that you can fry eggs on it, and touching it burns your palms. You don't have sunglasses or sunscreen. Your skin burns and peels off in flakes, turning into a rough crust. Heat stroke is a common cause of death here. People simply lose consciousness and fall down. Pulling the ropes for the awning is an operation that requires the synchronized actions of hundreds of people under the command of the boatswain. Ropes as thick as an arm are pulled tight like strings, and the sound of this tension is like the hum of a giant instrument. You feel the power of the wind trying to tear the sail from your hands and carry it away with you. It is a struggle against the air, which at this altitude becomes a dense and tangible enemy. The shade provided by this velarium is not for you, but for those sitting below. You are always in the sun, ensuring the comfort of the Roman elite and the plebs. This injustice is keenly felt, but you have no time for philosophical reflections. Your task is to ensure that the complex system of blocks and rings in the center works flawlessly. The sailors teach you to move along the narrow beams with the agility of a cat, without looking down into the gaping abyss of the arena. You get so used to the height that it ceases to frighten you and begins to evoke a strange feeling of freedom. From here, from the top of the Colosseum, the people below seem like mere dots, and the imperial palace looks like a toy house. You see the world through the eyes of birds, and this is the only privilege of your position. The installation of the velarium is the final chord of construction, crowning the stone bowl with a light crown of fabric. When the sails finally open, flapping in the wind, the sight is breathtaking in its scale. You realize that you have participated in the creation of the largest umbrella in the world. Working with sailors is different from working with masons. There is more discipline, clear commands, and special naval slang. You learn new words and new ways of interacting that save lives at height. This is an elite squad of ancient high-altitude workers, and becoming their assistant is considered good luck, despite the risk. But even here, above the clouds, you cannot forget what lies at the very bottom, underground. In the next chapter, you will learn what lies beneath the floor of the arena. What do you think was more difficult, building the walls or creating this incredible mechanism underground? Now you descend from the heavens underground into the very belly of the beast, known as the Hippogam. It is a two-level underground labyrinth hidden from the eyes of spectators, but forming the heart of the entire arena. It is dark, stuffy, and smells of dampness, animals, and fear, even though construction is not yet complete. You will have to build walls for the chambers where gladiators and wild beasts will be kept before going out to their deaths. Space is limited here. The corridors are narrow and confusing, reminiscent of the insides of a huge organism. You lay brick after brick by the light of oil lamps, suffocating from the soot and lack of air. There is no wind here, as there is above. The air is still, heavy and thick. You feel like a miner digging tunnels deep inside a mountain, even though above you is only the wooden floor of the arena. You need to install complex mechanisms, elevators and lifts that will deliver animals and scenery upstairs. It is a complex engineering task to create 28 elevators powered by hand-operated winches. You install guides, check counterweights, and lubricate wooden shafts. You understand that the reliability of these mechanisms determines the spectacle of the games and the lives of those who will operate them. Working in the Hippogam requires precision because every centimeter of space counts here. The walls must be strong enough to withstand an enraged lion or elephant thrashing around in its cage. You are not just building rooms, you are building a maximum security prison for the world's most dangerous predators. The realization of who will inhabit these walls makes you lay the mortar with particular care. Sounds here are distorted and amplified by echoes, creating an eerie cacophony even during construction. The sound of a hammer striking sounds like a gunshot, and someone's voice sounds like the moan of a ghost. You constantly look around, expecting to see something in the darkness, your nerves stretched to the limit. This place puts more psychological pressure on you than the open heights of the upper tiers. There is also a complex sewage and water supply system here that needs to be integrated into the walls. You work with pipes, drains, and sewers, ensuring hygiene in this underground city. If something gets clogged here during the games, the stench will rise to the stands where the emperor sits, and that cannot be allowed to happen. You are an ancient plumber, responsible for the comfort of the most powerful people in the world. The Hypogeum is a place where the technical genius of Rome meets its cruelty. You see how mechanisms are created for murder and entertainment, and it evokes mixed feelings. On the one hand, you admire the engineering, but on the other, you are horrified by its purpose. You are building a machine of death, and you know it. You work in constant semi-darkness, and your eyes lose their ability to see in bright sunlight. When you go above ground, the light hurts your eyes and it takes time to adjust. You become an inhabitant of the underground, a mole who knows the secret passages of the Colosseum better than anyone else. The underground part of the Colosseum is its hidden engine, without which the show above would be impossible. You take pride in understanding how this trick with the sudden appearance of lions works. For the audience, it will be magic, but for you, it's just a winch, a rope, and the sweat of slaves. You begin to understand that you are not just building a structure, but a giant machine for sorting people. The Colosseum is designed so that 50,000 people can enter and exit it in a matter of minutes without causing a stampede. Your task is to build endless staircases and passageways, which the Romans cynically call vomitoria, from the word to vomit. You lay the steps so that the flow of people moves as smoothly as water in a pipe. Each sector is strictly separated from the other, and you build barriers that prevent the plebeians from mixing with the patricians. You see Rome's social inequality embodied in stone and concrete right before your eyes. For senators, marble seats and wide aisles. For ordinary citizens, narrow wooden benches under the roof. You build physical boundaries between classes that cannot be crossed. The numbering of the entrances is another important detail you have to work on. Above each arch, you carve Roman numerals that will serve as navigation for thousands of spectators. This requires the precision of a stonemason. The numbers must be clear, deep, and visible from a distance. You realize that you are creating the world's first navigation system for a stadium. The corridors are cleverly designed so that the sound of the crowd does not drown out those who are just entering. You build vaulted ceilings that dampen echoes and direct air currents, creating natural ventilation. Even on the hottest day, there should be a breeze here, and you can feel it on your skin as you work in these stone tubes. The engineers have thought of every detail, and you admire their foresight. Crowd safety is a priority, so you install sturdy railings and barriers on steep staircases. You check every stone for instability, knowing that in a crush, any unevenness can lead to tragedy. You build so that even a crowd driven mad by excitement cannot destroy itself. This is concern for people expressed in hard stone. The floors in the corridors are laid out in a special herringbone pattern of bricks to prevent feet from slipping. It's a small detail, but it saves thousands of people rushing to take their seats from falling. You crawl on your knees, laying these bricks, rubbing your skin raw, but knowing that it is important. The ergonomics of the space here are perfected. You see how the building is divided into access zones, like a layered cake of privileges. Your work makes this segregation unshakable and eternal, like Rome itself. You understand that architecture is also politics, only frozen in stone. The construction of passageways and staircases is a work of geometric precision. Everything must be symmetrical, identical, and repeatable. You become a master of standards, able to determine the slope of a staircase by eye. This building is the perfect crowd control mechanism, and you are the one who tightens the last nuts and bolts in it. Forget the white ruins you see today. The Colosseum of your time was bright, colorful, and loud. Your job now is to turn gray concrete and stone into a work of art by covering it with plaster and paint. You apply layers of stucco, a mixture of marble dust and lime that, when polished, shines like real marble. This work requires not strength, but sensitivity of the hands and artistic taste. You paint the corridors with bright frescoes in red, blue, and gold tones, depicting hunting scenes and mythological subjects. The walls come to life under your brush, transforming gloomy tunnels into art galleries. You breathe in the smell of paint and solvents, your hands stained with all the colors of the rainbow. This is the moment when a rough construction site is transformed into a palace for the people. Statues of gods and heroes are installed in each of the 160 arches of the second and third tiers. You have to lift these heavy marble sculptures and secure them so that they look down on the city with majestic calm. The Colosseum is transformed into a huge iconostasis of Roman religion and power. You feel a thrill as you touch the faces of the gods with your rough hands. Bronze shields are mounted at the very top, glistening in the sun and blinding Rome's enemies with their brilliance. You polish the metal to a mirror shine, seeing your tired, aged face reflected in it. This wealth and luxury contrast with your poverty and rags. You decorate a celebration to which you will most likely never be invited. The floor of the arena is covered with a layer of yellow sand that will absorb the blood. You level this sand with a rake, creating the perfect surface for future battles. This is the final touch, the preparation of the canvas on which death will paint its pictures. The sand is soft and pliable, unlike the stone you have been struggling with for years. Even the barriers separating the spectators from the arena are decorated with ivory and gold. You work with materials that cost more than your entire lifetime earnings. This evokes a strange feeling of alienation. You are creating beauty that does not belong to you, but you cannot help but admire the result of your labor. When the scaffolding is finally removed, the building appears in all its glory, shining with the whiteness of travertine and the gold of the decorations. It looks like a spaceship that has landed in the middle of an ancient city. You realize that you have never seen and will never see anything more beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The color and splendor of the Colosseum is a mask that hides the cruel essence of what will happen inside. You are a makeup artist applying makeup to the face of a monster. 8 or 10 years have passed. You've lost count, measuring time not in years but in tears. The Colosseum is complete, and the opening day arrives, which Emperor Titus has declared a 100-day holiday. You stand in the crowd, but not as a spectator in a place of honor, but somewhere in the shadows by the wall that you yourself laid. You look at the building and cannot believe that this giant was created by your own hands. Your body is ruined by this construction. Your back won't straighten, your joints ache with the weather, your lungs are clogged with stone dust. You gave your health and youth to this building, receiving in return only the right to say, "I was there." Many of your comrades did not live to see this day, remaining in unmarked graves or even in the foundations of the amphitheater itself. You are a surviving veteran of the labor front. The first games begin, and you hear the roar of the crowd shaking the walls you tested for strength. You know the structure will hold, you are confident in every stone, but when the first blood falls on the sand, you feel a strange emptiness. You have built the perfect stage for death, and now it is beginning to fulfill its purpose. Perhaps you were given your freedom for your labor, or a small amount of money, enough to open a shop. Or maybe you were simply transferred to the next construction site to build baths or an aqueduct. The empire knows no rest, and it always needs workers. You understand that for Rome, you are just a tool that has not yet broken. You look at the Colosseum with pride and bitterness. It is your creation, which now lives its own life, devouring people and animals. You know its every secret, every dark corner, every hidden passage. This knowledge binds you to this place forever, stronger than any chains. Centuries will pass, the empire will fall, the marble will be carried off to palaces, and the statues will be melted down. But the concrete skeleton that you mixed with your own hands will remain standing. Your nameless work will prove stronger than the names of the emperors carved on the pediment. You have defeated time, even though you have lost your life. Survival on this construction site was a lottery, and you drew the lucky ticket. But looking at your hands, you realize that part of you has remained there forever, embedded in these walls. The Colosseum is a monument not only to Rome, but also to you. You look at the Colosseum today as a tourist, taking selfies against the backdrop of the majestic ruins. But now you know what lies behind those arches. Not only the history of gladiators, but also the history of sweat, blood, broken backs, and incredible human perseverance. This building was constructed without machines, without protection, without mercy, only with muscle power and willpower. Could you endure this work, knowing that your reward is only survival? Or would you break down in the first month, becoming part of the foundation? Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new dives into history, and write in the comments, what role would you choose on this construction site if you had a choice?